Hey, I'm Diver's dad, and this is kind of part two of my series of my 66 C10 that I've recently purchased and picked up. So in this video, I'm going to cover just a few of the reasons why I've decided to let go of my CRX that I've loved so much and move on to something so different. A lot of people are probably confused why me, being kind of an import guy, Honda guy, CRX guy, moving on to a classic truck. I'm going to cover some of those points in this video. Now that I've had the truck home, I'm going to go over some of the things I've done to it, a lot of the things I've found out about it. Towards the end of the video, I will show some examples and basically tell what exactly my plans are, what type of build this is going to be. So stick around for that to the end. I know a lot of you follow me because of my CRX build, which is sitting right here next to the camera. A lot of you have probably seen that I am going to be selling it soon. A lot of you have told me it's a bad idea, I'm going to regret it, and yeah, I probably will regret it at some point. I'm going to miss this car a ton. I mean, I've had it for going on almost 14 years now, but trust me, no one has given this as much thought as far as the possibility of selling it and moving on to something else as I have. I purchased this car before I knew my wife, before obviously I had kids. It was a fun car. It was part of my past life and my younger life. I always had a vision for this car, to build it basically exactly how it is, and I don't really want to change that much about it. I like it the way that it is. I've done everything I want to do this car other than boost it and then possibly put a K20 swap in it one day. You know, I've just kind of lost a drive and passion for this car. The other thing that's changed is now that I'm married and have a family, my wife hates this car. She's ridden in this car probably twice ever. It's just, it's a rough riding car. It's stiff, it's low. She hates it. She doesn't like to enjoy it with me. And then being a two-seater car, it seems like I always have to choose, do I want to spend the day or weekend or whatever with my family, or do I want to go do something with the car? You know, I just wanted to get something that was a little more family friendly. I wanted to start a new project that I can actually involve my family in, teach my kids a little bit about it. Maybe they'll be hands-on, maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't, but at least they'll be part of this build. And even though this is a single cab truck, it's not the most family friendly, but at least I'm gonna keep the original bench seat, and you know, I can stuff the family in it and we can go grab ice cream, do some things together like that. We're not gonna go across country in the truck together, but I'll at least be able to involve my family a little more with it. And that's one reason I'm really looking forward to this. You know, if you're a good friend of mine and have known me for a long time, it's probably no big surprise. I've been saying for years that if I ever build something else, I'd love to do a classic truck. So I will post a link here if you haven't seen my video originally when I went to pick up this truck, but I was in a hurry that night to get it home. I didn't end up getting back home with it until 2 a.m. I pulled it on the trailer to take my kids to school the next day. I didn't even unload it. The truck is fairly rough. It's a huge build. It needs a ton of work. It's gonna be a long-term build. It's probably gonna be several years before I actually drive this truck. It wasn't cheap, but it was a pretty decent price. These trucks, especially this generation, if you can find one, two-wheel drive with a short bed, they're extremely hard to find, and people are asking a ton of money, even with holes rusted in the floorboards. Comes with a ton of extra parts, and pretty much everything is there. It is missing a few things. It is a bit of a headache because this was someone else's project that I've jumped in the middle of, and I couldn't disassemble this truck as an original truck myself. First of all, whoever did the metal work on this, whoever replaced the inner and outer rockers, the floor, the cab mounts, did a horrible job. This guy traded an entire truck to have someone do the metal fab work on it. The rockers don't really line up right. I'm gonna have to cut part of them back off and beat on them to get the lines and stuff a lot closer to where they should be. I'll show you under there. They didn't even weld where your pinch weld would be on the rockers. They just put rivets in it for whatever reason. I don't know if that was supposed to be a temporary thing. If you look at the inner kick panel on the passenger side, they didn't finish welding that. The seams in the door frame where the rocker hits, they just did a super sloppy job. I'm gonna have to cut that off, lower the rocker a little, and weld that back. When I got under the truck, you know, the floorboard looks like it's been done decently well. I can't tell how many welds are in it because someone has just slung seam sealer real sloppy over everything. I'm gonna have to get under there first thing, grind all of that out just to see how good the weld jobs are, and I'll probably have to redo some of them or finish welding some of the panel. The cab mount over on the passenger side, instead of taking the old cab mount off and putting a new one on, they like tried to section it. They put the new cab mount over the old one, and the way that it fits, it's not even touching the cab on part of it. Did a horrible job. So I'm gonna have to take all that completely off. Thankfully, it did come with an extra cab mount that's gonna work for that, but I've got to cut their sloppy work out and redo that. As I've messed around with this truck, finding all my parts, kind of getting things organized, figuring out a plan for this, I have no idea what the guy's plans were for this. Some of the things he's done to it looks like he was going to build a show truck, and then some of the things are so sloppy, it's like the guy was just trying to throw it together over a weekend and drive it to work on Monday. He painted the whole interior of the truck, but there's runs, there's dry spots, it's all over the place. It's terrible. I'm gonna have to sand it all back down and redo it. He put a brand new windshield, a brand new rear glass in it, put brand new seals on, installed them. I don't know why he installed it before painting the truck or doing whatever he was gonna do. He painted the firewall, it looks sloppy. He pulled the inner fender wells completely out, painted those all black. The cab and bed have been taken off the frame. The entire frame has been cleaned and painted. It's got a brand new lowering kit with lowering springs and struts. All that has been put on there, and the truck's never even been driven. Pretty much every nut and bolt on the truck is loose. It's just been hand tightened. I'm guessing the truck has already been lowered, I'd say somewhere around 5 inches in the front and 7 in the back. I pulled the truck in here to service the transmission, put a new filter fluid just to check it out. And when I went to drive it out, it wouldn't start. Could not get the thing to start to save my life. Ended up running the fuel line out to a fuel jug on the front bumper just to make sure it had fresh fuel. Ended up pulling the Edelbrock carb off, completely rebuilding it. I got the thing to start again after that, but it still just wouldn't run long enough for me to really tune it. After all that frustration, I realized the long-term goal was always to put an LS, either 4.8, 5.3, 6.0, I don't really care. And I thought, you know what, why not just pull all this out instead of messing with it? If it takes me longer to get the thing together, then so be it. But I may as well go ahead and move forward with the LS platform right off the bat and have exactly what I want. One thing I had no way of anticipating until I got the truck home and really looked it over, started assembling the truck and putting the front bumper on mainly, I realized the front frame horns are way off. One side is way lower than the other. So now that I've got the motor pulled and everything, I've got to borrow a trailer, somehow get it back on a trailer and get it to a frame shop. And hopefully they can straighten the front of the frame. I've got buddies that have done frame work and work in body shops and say it's not that big of a deal, but that's the number one thing I got to do, because if the frame's no good, I've got to start looking for another frame. But hopefully it's an easy fix and that won't be a huge ordeal. The truck's in rough shape, but it's got good bones. You know, I don't have the room or the money to keep my car and build the truck. I have to sell my car to fund this build, and I definitely need more room to work on it. So my plans for the truck are, I'm gonna put an LS swap in it. I'd really like to do a 5.3. I'm probably gonna go ahead and put a 4L60 in it just to have everything matching electronically. I'll have the newer fuel injected V8. It'll get decent fuel mileage. It'll make a lot more power than it did originally. Once I decided that I'm gonna go LS, I pulled the 350 trans and the 350 motor out of it. I've been parting things out and selling it. I've already made almost $1,000 off of all the original drivetrain. I really wanted to do a patina truck and have something I can enjoy, not have to stress about my kids being around it, scratching it. But I couldn't find one. The ones that had cool patina, people just wanted crazy amounts of money for. So this truck is gonna get a paint job. The plan is to start doing body work. I'm gonna order new lower door skins for each door. They're rusted pretty good. That'll give me a chance to cut the door skin off, clean it out inside, reseal everything. I originally wanted to do a faux patina paint job on it, but the more I think about it, the less I like that idea. Some of them turn out really cool and some of them, you know, just look fake. So I think I'm gonna put a real paint job on it. I originally wanted to do kind of the classic teal green with a white top. And I'm not completely against that, but the more I look at pictures of these old trucks, I really like the flat paint color. And I think that looks really good on slammed, bagged trucks, which brings me into my next big part of the build. I wanna put this thing on airbags. I want to have something that has a great ride quality, and I want the adjustability to be able to slam it when I park. I've always kind of struggled to find that good in between, a super nice stance, but yet have a decent ride. And yeah, I want my family to enjoy this truck with me, so I want it to have a nice cush ride. I can slam it when it's parked. I could have the best of both worlds. So that's the plan, put it on bags. I am going to raise the bed floor. So I will have to pull the original wooden bed out of it. I'll have to fabricate a new bed frame up higher. I don't want to notch the center of the bed frame out. Even though it will be a shallow bed, I want to have a completely flat, usable bed still. And I'm going to go as low as I can go with the factory crossmember and control arms. I will probably set the crossmember and control arms on the ground. And you know, if for some reason that's not low enough for me, or if I want to be able to drive with it lower, later on down the road after the truck's back on the road, that could be phase 2 if I want to put a really nice drop member in it or something like that. I like these trucks with the shop truck look, but I don't know that that's what I'm going to go for. But the short bed with the bags, I think a flat paint color could look really, really cool. Not completely sold on it yet, but we'll see where that goes. I've got plenty of time before I actually pick the color and finish and all that. The other thing I really want to do to it, I'm going to do the big back window conversion, I think. Unless I change my mind, that's the direction I'm headed in now. You know, I'm not building this truck to sell, but I want to do things right. Because if you do these things right, you do the work yourself, it's an investment. And you know, these trucks with a big back window and a short bed, makes them highly sought after. And it's really, you know, probably only going to cost me maybe $500 in parts. I'll do it all myself. It's not an easy job, but I think I could pull it off. And then, you know, if I ever do sell this truck down the road, it should add at least several grand, if not more, to the value of the truck. So that's the plan for the C10. It's gonna have newer drivetrain. You know, it's gonna have a LS with a 4L60 electronic transmission. I wanna make sure it has heat. I want it to have AC. It's gonna be bagged. It's gonna have a nice ride. It's gonna be able to park slammed and look good. And it's gonna have some sort of real paint job on it. You know, I hope to involve my family in this build, and I hope to have many years of getting to enjoy this truck with my family. I don't want it to be a show truck. I want to actually be able to use it. I think I'm even going to put a trailer hitch on it if we ever want to go somewhere. If my son and I want to take it camping or something like that, I want to be able to tow my four-wheeler with it, or just tow a small trailer for some extra junk, extra storage. You know, I'll make it as nice as I can. I'm not going to make it sloppy, but at the same time, I don't want to have the stress of a show truck. I actually want to use this thing. If my kids put a dent in it or put a scratch in it, I don't want to be too upset. That's part of it. I want to involve my family, and one day down the road, you know, my kids will be gone, and if I want it to be a show truck, I can redo it then. One of the other reasons I want to do a truck is, you know, depending on what I'm doing, the car just limits me so much. Like if I want to take the car to work, If I've got to haul things with me, a lot of times I can't take the car. A lot of times I got to drop my kids off at school before I go to work, and I can't do that in my car. So at least with the truck, you know, it's not a lot of room for the whole family, but at least if I got to throw a ladder in the back, if I got to throw a bunch of tools, I could still use the truck. And if I got to drop my kids off at school, they can easily ride in it with me. So, you know, if you're here just for my CRX, it's probably not going to be around much longer. I got a couple things that now that the weather's warm, I'm really going to push myself to fix the couple things I need to do on this, finish up the video that I'm doing of this. Stick around for that. It's going to be a pretty cool overall video covering the build story of my car. And then I'm going to send it down the road, assuming I can find a buyer. So if you're here for the CRX stuff, I hope you stick around. I've always been kind of a Honda guy, but I've really always just been a car guy. I appreciate all different types of cars. So, you know, I'd love for you to stick around and watch the progress of my C10 build. I'll also continue to do some DIY stuff here and there. And if you're interested in possibly purchasing my CRX, stay tuned. Once I get that video done, I'll be selling it one way or another. I got a lot of people interested. Thanks for watching. Stick around for future updates on the 66 C10.